Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, and today we're sitting down with LaShawn Davis. LaShawn is known as the Workplace Fixer, and she's the founder of the HR Plug and the Greatness Lab, business and individual consulting firms, respectively. In this episode, she'll talk about her book, At the Pinnacle of Greatness, touching on important topics such as embracing your design, harnessing your strengths, and overcoming challenges. So, lean in, leaders, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about this art we call leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church, aka Iglesia Vertical in South Florida. We are one church, two languages, and I'm your host for this here AVAIL podcast. We got an amazing guest, everybody. Lean in, because she's right here. LaShawn Davis. She's my new best friend. You're going to love her, everybody. You're going to love her, you're going to love her, you're going to love her. LaShawn, how does it feel to be on the AVAIL podcast?
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity and to just engage with other leaders. That's so exciting.
I just want to say, some people are listening to audio and they cannot appreciate your beautiful earrings. I love it. You are like me, LaShawn. We like to shine for the Lord.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is going to be fun, LaShawn. I think you have some giftings that God has given you, a vision and a passion for life and for impact that God has given you that's going to be very helpful for all of the leaders that plug in here to AVAIL. Before we jump into the conversation specifically about your book, At the Pinnacle of Greatness, Fulfilling the Design of Your God-Given DNA, before we jump into that, which is going to be fun, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you so much for the introduction. I'm LaShawn Davis. I am, the catalyst for greatness in life. And I inspire greatness and success into every individual that I encounter. I also am the founder and owner of an HR consulting firm called the HR Plug.
Come on.
My background is HR, and so I'm all about people and people being assigned to you and you being able to deliver the message and the answer or solution that you are for them. And so that's what I do in my business. That's what I believe that God has empowered me to do for others. And so that's why we're here.
I love that. I love that. I think not only is this going to be an interview for AVAIL that I'm doing, but I'm actually going to probably use you as a consultant here on this on this interview, LaShawn.
Yes.
I think it's awesome when the Lord kind of pushes you in a direction where you're kind of clear on what He has for you. But before we jump into the book, talk to us a little bit about the HR Plug and the Greatness Lab. I think it's good for people to know about that.
Absolutely. So the HR Plug is a consulting firm for organizations. So if you're looking to get the best results and the best outcomes from the people that you're relying on for results for your business or your nonprofit or your church, whatever it is, then I'm your girl. I can help mend the broken cracks. I can help you understand how to finagle your business, how to meet the needs of the people that you're relying on. In that work, I've also encountered leaders who just want to develop themselves. Like, they know their role as a business leader, but who are they as an individual? And so that's where the Greatness Lab comes into play. It's a consulting firm for individuals who want to understand career alignment, career purpose alignment, your calling and things like that, that you were created to do so that they can live as the best version of themselves. And that is the Greatness Lab. So I'm here just to help everybody who wants to be helped and finding what it is that they're supposed to be doing so that they can experience the abundance that God promises all of us. So
I love that. I think this is very valuable both for leaders of organizations and for individuals who maybe want to grow in their leadership. So 20 years of experience in the HR world, the corporate world, and your personal journey with the Lord and life and leadership has led you at this point to write the book, At the Pinnacle of Greatness, Fulfilling the Design of Your God-Given DNA. Talk to us about the inspiration. Why did you write this book?
my time in corporate America, I was rejected a lot. In the almost 20 years that I've worked there, I probably had 9 different jobs. So
Wow.
it got to a point where when I got really good at what I was doing, people became intimidated by it. And either I felt I wasn't accepted or I didn't fit in. But now, for those who are maybe listening and don't know what I look like, I have pink hair. Pink glasses. I have radical, like I'm very colorful because I've learned how to just be me and who God created me to be in
Yeah.
any environment. And it took me being hurt, rejected, talked about in corporate America to get to
Wow.
this place. But listen, it's no journey. It's no different than the journeys from any believer I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
because the world is never meant to love you. So if they hate you, that means you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
I've just learned how to bottle that up and teach other people how to persevere through trials and tribulations and persecution they experience in the world. So that's how I
Wow.
see it in my book.
Yeah, yeah, and I love it because I think your perspective is it's almost a kind of a liberating in a
Mhm.
good sense, right? It's not in I don't pick up on any like negative or mad or angry vibes. It's more of a just free in
Yeah.
the Lord to live out His calling on our lives, and we don't all look the same, right? We don't all have the same calling or giftings or
Right.
passions for that matter. Um, when you talk about when somebody writes a book, you generally have somebody in mind, or there's generally a group of people or an audience that would lean in. When you think about that for this book, LaShawn, who do you think are people that are gonna that are obviously are benefiting already, but will
Yeah.
benefit from leaning into to this book?
I think people who are really curious about understanding how do I tap into God's plan for my life? Because,
Hmm.
we can all recite Jeremiah 29:11,
Hmm.
for, God, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper and all of that.
Hmm.
But so many believers are not living prosperous. So many believers are living unfulfilled. So many believers are feeling like, what am I here for? So
Right.
if that's you, then this book is for you because it's going to help you understand how to utilize and leverage your greatness and align your life with God's plan for it so that you can receive prosperity and abundance. Because if you're not receiving it, then there's a misalignment somewhere. And this book will help you get aligned.
Now, from your experience, I want to tap into your kind of your HR corporate years of experience, LaShawn, which I think, by the way, I think 20 years in that world is extremely valuable. The experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak,
Right.
and the growth as well. From your experience, um, why do you think so many people have a hard time finding fulfillment and discovering like just purpose in life? What are some of the things that maybe you've noticed or trends that you've noticed?
I mean, I really believe it all falls down to distractions. And I
Hmm.
and I'm distracted by, my best friend who's living the best life doing this. So let me try to go and do that so I can achieve that. Or
Wow.
you know, it's distracted because I have these bills that are demanding right now. So I don't have the time to invest in figuring this out. I just got to do what I can do right now to pay my bills. So I think it's these types of distractions that, you know, that deflect our attention and focus on why we're really here. And because God doesn't really have dominion on earth, He gives us free reign to do what we want to do. It's an intentional effort that's required to truly get in that alignment. And if people don't find the importance of doing that or the desire to truly understand and fulfill the whole purpose of your being, that those distractions tend to overtake anything else that you want to do because it will always be a distraction.
That's good. That's a good point. I think
Hmm.
when we live our lives um, kind of dealing with the urgent and with the distractions,
Yes.
we sometimes miss out on the important and the significant. Now,
I,
obviously, we don't have time to unpack the whole book because it's a great book with a lot of great content. But can you maybe share some thoughts or maybe even some practical, advice or steps regarding how does somebody begin to discover that design, that God-given DNA? What are some things that maybe helped you or that you've noticed have helped you help others along the
right.
journey?
The way you start discovering that is start a self-discovery process of who you are, right? And what I call that in my book is your organic brilliance, things that come natural to you. What are people always complimenting you about, or what is the first thing people say they notice about you or remember, about you? Because those are the things that are natural for you, and God created that in you for some reason. So it's about tapping into that thing and
Wow,
discovering what that thing is, and then allowing it the freedom to grow.
that's good. I can't help but think, you know, uh, somebody who's leading, for example, in a role like like an HR director, an HR executive in an organization, a company. Again, some of us leaning in here are pastors and leaders in ministries and organizations, and we are constantly influencing people, right? In your journey, LaShawn, talking leadership here, right? Which I know you're into because you're a great leader, right? Talking leadership. What are you probably had experiences with some leaders who did not do a good job of empowering or encouraging or motivating the employees that maybe were under their care, and then you probably had some other examples of leaders who did a good job of empowering, encouraging, equipping, motivating. Can you talk to us a little bit from your experience, from your journey, from your observations, especially because we have a lot of leaders leaning in right now? What are some of those things that differentiate leaders who really set up their people for success and fulfillment, and maybe leaders who promote an environment that doesn't do that?
Right. So the key word is leader, right? And I believe that some people became leaders by default. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to be a pastor because I just love church and I love teaching. I love Bible study. So now I'm going to be a pastor, but maybe God didn't design you to be a shepherd.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's about putting aside your desire and really tuning into what's God's desire for your life. And when you're the right type of leader and you're inspiring and influencing people, it's because you're not leading because you want to. You're leading because you're called to. And in that calling, you know that it's not that your success relies on their success, not your own doing. I tell everybody that I measure my success by the number of times somebody says thank you to me for something. Because that means I've done something right to impact their life. As a leader, you know it's not about you. And if you're leading right now and you're thinking about how can I make more money doing this? How can I don't feel this. You really need to evaluate, are you supposed to be leading? Because maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a strong contributor in another area. And so I think the first key and the first step is to identifying your why. Why are you leading? Why are you here and why are you doing it? And is it because God called you to it, or is it because you fell into it, or is it because you just want to do it? But you have to answer that question first.
Come on. Can you, you need there's some smoke coming out from behind you, LaShawn. I love it. I think I'm touching a chord there with you. You're a leader. You're a leader and you love people. Man, that's a great combination when you are a leader who takes leadership seriously and you know your why, but then you also care about people. You push them forward as opposed to stepping and pushing them down. Okay, so your book, you split it into 16 chapters, but there's 5 main sections. There's identity, there's mindset, there's vision, there's strategy, there's legacy. These are powerful words. Can you maybe unpack a little bit why you broke it up in these 5 main sections?
Right. Well, first, identity, because there are so many people that are walking around as strangers to themselves. And until you understand who you are and who God created you to be, nothing else you do in life will ever prosper. And if it does prosper, it's only artificially or temporarily, right?
Right.
And so identity talks about going through understanding your greatness as that is your identity. You are greatness, and you have to conceptualize that with your mind, which is why we go into mindset next. You have to conceptualize and comprehend that everything your heart desire, God wants to give to you, and you're worthy of it. And there are some mindset reshifts, like through cultural conditioning, maybe, or life circumstances that have led people to believe I'm supposed to struggle, or that I have to go through this in order to get my reward. Like, who said that? There are some, you know what I mean? We weren't created to struggle. We weren't created to be debtors, right? That's not what we were created to. If we truly live by what the Word of God says, we are kingdom heirs, right? But your mind has to conceptualize that. You have to understand how to live and manifest what the Word of God says by first hiding it in your heart so that you know how to live it. And that's what mindset talks you through. Then after you understand who you are, you have to create a vision for yourself. And the Bible makes it very clear about how you do that. And that chapter walks through the vision. It's not a vision board in January every single year. If that's what you're doing for your vision, then you're doing it wrong, and nothing will ever manifest that's on that board. And so this chapter is going to walk you through how to properly do a vision plan that aligns with what God wants you to achieve in life. And then after that is a strategy. Now that you know what you want to do, who you are, and you can comprehend all of this, now how do you do it? How do you monetize your brilliance? How do you achieve that abundance and prosperity? What is the strategy behind that? And a lot of people, Virgil, believe it or not, they start with the strategy. Like, I have this business idea. I'm going to go get a logo. I'm going to get my brand colors. I'm going to do all this stuff. But they don't even know who they are.
Right.
So strategy is like the fourth step. And then lastly, after you figure all of that out, it's the legacy. What are people going to say about you when you're no longer here? What do you want them to say about you? You control that. And there's an exercise in that chapter where I say, write your obituary right now. What do you want it to say? Because if you know why you're here, then you're able to write what you accomplished before you leave. And because Jesus did it in the Bible, and there's a lot of places where they show that. So we have to start living that way. And so those 5 things are in the book in those categories, because you might be in a different place. Maybe you know who you are, and maybe you have the mindset to understand who you are, but you just haven't figured out that vision piece. So you might want to skip over to the vision chapter. Or you might want to skip over to the legacy section. So that's why it's sectioned that way, because you may not need everything at the same time, or you might need it at different times in your life. And I wanted it to be easy for you to go ahead and grab and see. So those are the 5 segments.
That's a good reason, everybody, to pick up this book by LaShawn Davis, At the Pinnacle of Greatness. I can't help but think, as I'm hearing you speak, LaShawn, that throughout your journey and your years, you've really had a chance to help a lot of people. So here's my question. It's a little bit of you got to reflect here a little. We got to have a little bit of reflection time here. Did you ever think, 5 years into your career as you know in HR, did you ever think that ahead in the future you were going to be writing a book, you were going to be starting these companies, consulting, and that you were going to be going beyond, maybe a specific corporation or organization or company, to really expanding this impact? Did you ever see that or envision that?
No. That's the short of answer of it. No, I never did, because I wasn't living my life through the right lens at the time. So I wanted to be a chief HR officer for an organization, and I was trying to work my way up the corporate ladder for that. And God was like, fooled you. And now, I don't even have to worry about money. It finds me just because I'm aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's how I know what I'm supposed to be doing is the right thing. So, no, I had to put my own agenda to the side. I have to die to my flesh every day. I have to really, really be focused on this life is not my own. And that's how I've been able to really, find success in what I do.
I love that. I told you that I was going to be using this, talking about strategy. You talk about strategy, so it's your fault, ultimately. I want to be strategic in this conversation, because I'm going to tap into something that's going to help me, but I think it's going to help a lot of leaders as well.
Okay.
When it comes to, and I think the heart of your book really is for everybody. But when it comes to leaders who are maybe leading people, including HR, including just leading a staff team, for example, what are some principles, practices, or tips in creating a work environment, whether it is ministry or the marketplace, right? That people love to be a part of? Because I would venture to say, and I don't know what the percentage is of people that are fulfilled and enjoying their workplace and where they are, and the people that aren't. You might have some insight on that, but from your experience, and again, speaking to leaders who are in many cases leading staff, maybe leading volunteers, leading a team or a department, what are the things that we can do as leaders, and even as far as HR, to make our workplace a great place for employees?
Ooh, that is a good question. Because I find so many people who lead and they just want somebody with a pulse who can just do the work, right? But I would tell any leader, in order to find that harmony that you need in the workplace, you have to, number one, make sure that you're treating them as human beings first, as people, right?
Yes.
They're not just your producers, they're not just your greeters, they're not just your like you treat them like a human being first, a person first. So that means that you're asking them, how are you doing today? That means
Yes.
how was your weekend? You're engaging, you're being personable with them. So I'm not saying get in their business, but
Yeah.
acknowledge them as a human first. And then I would say, secondly, you have to make sure that there's an alignment with their futuristic goals and your organization.
Hmm.
Because if they don't believe in the organization that you run, then you're never going to see the results out of them that you need. They have to be mirrored or tied to and believing what you're working in. And believe it or not, a lot of people work in places that they don't believe in or that they
Wow.
don't agree with. And
Wow.
that's the number one way that the leader's going to struggle, and that person is also going to struggle because of that misalignment. So I would say, and then how do you do that, Virgil? You have to be clear as a leader what your mission is, what your values are, what your vision is, and who your audience is. And that last one, who your audience is, I can tell you 90% of the time, organizations do not tell their
Wow.
employees or their workers who they're talking to.
Wow. So
And
here's
if
what I'm
you as
hearing.
a leader, oh, go ahead.
I'm a good student here, and I want you to
Okay.
keep going, but I'm hearing treat your team as human beings, care about them,
Care about them.
not just producers that are doing things for you.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, ensure alignment. This is a big one for me. Ensure alignment with their future goals and the organization. Do they
Mm-hmm.
align? Is there a connect there? And then have clarity about the mission, the vision, the values, and who is our audience. I love it. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yep, because I was going to say, if you are a leader, and think about it right now, this is what I want you to do. Think about, what area are you a leader in? Are you a leader in a church? Are you a leader in an organization? Can you articulate the mission, the visions, the values, and the target audience for that place that you lead in? And then I want you to go to your team and ask them the same questions. I want you to have them write down on a piece of paper and turn it back into you. And then I want you to read the results and determine, is there alignment? Because if there's not, that's where you need to start.
I love it. I
That's
love it. This is good. All right. Um, so I have another question that was going through my mind as I heard you a little earlier, connected to one of the sections of your book is identity, and you kind of mentioned this in passing. I'd love for you to unpack a little more. Sometimes people allow the wrong identity to attach to them, right? And I think this can happen to men, this can happen to women, this can happen to younger people, this can happen to older people. It really does not discriminate. I mean, I think, and I think there's multiple aspects of it. But can you share a little bit about this, and how does it limit us when we allow the wrong identity to attach to us? Also, because this can impact your personal life, your family. This can impact your professional life, and I feel like a lot of people sometimes get stuck. Share us with a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the wrong latching to the wrong identity is really wasting time. Like, you're wasting life's time because you're living as an artificial version of yourself. You have to get tired of living as an artificial version of yourself. And let me give you some examples of what I mean by that. So, my dad was a doctor, my brother was a doctor, and everybody in my family was a doctor. So of course that means I have to be a doctor. No, it doesn't mean that, because everybody in your family probably maybe wasn't meant to be a doctor either.
Right.
So part of this is breaking some of these cycles and these cultural conditionings that lead us to believe who we are, and instead discover who you are. And the way you discover, am I who I say I am? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I'm always good, Virgil, about giving you a little activity to get you going. But I would
Come
say
on.
this: find 5 people, right? And one of the 5 people is like a colleague, somebody you work with. The other one could be a family or a relative. The other one is somebody who lives in your household, like your spouse or your children or something to that, so they know you all the time. And then the last one is somebody who you talk to every now and then. They may not know you personally, but they know enough about you. And the 5th one I'll let you pick on your own. And I want you to ask them 2 questions. And the first question I want you to ask them is, if you were tasked to do something and you can only pick one person to do that thing, because picking this one person is how you'll execute it flawlessly, what would be the thing you would pick that I'd be that person for you? Like, you would absolutely not do this unless I was there with you. And then the second question is, now what if you were given an assignment and I am not the person you would pick for it, what is the absolute last thing you would pick me for? Right? Like what is it that like if I and I can tell you like for me anything administrative like they're not picking LaShawn because I am not administrative at all. I don't like the details. I don't like, you know what I mean. So what are those two things about you, and are these five people all going to say the same thing? Because if you have these five different people who know you through five different aspects of your life tell you five different things, then you're probably not living your true version of yourself.
Wow, I like that. That's a great little exercise right there. That's a little bit of a self-discovery and kind of understanding what are my strengths, and obviously what is maybe my weaknesses. That's good. I
Yeah,
love this,
because if
LaShawn.
God created you for the audience that's assigned to you, then it's important to see how the people who interact with you perceive you, not how you see yourself. So I can tell you, yeah, I'm this, I'm that. But if nobody sees that thing in you, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Wow. Okay, so speaking of being honest with ourselves, I actually enjoyed this section because it makes me reflect and it makes my guests reflect. But I think it's evident, LaShawn, that you have had some great victories in your life, and that you have some great things to celebrate. But on the other side of the coin, there's probably some mistakes along your journey, maybe some what we would call some failures, maybe in our professional journey, or that definitely didn't go as planned. Would you be vulnerable enough to maybe share about a time in your journey where maybe you didn't hit the mark, or maybe you weren't so proud of of maybe how you did something, or how you managed, because that's probably something that allowed you to grow from. Can you share about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My vulnerable moment is my mouth. I am really a quick, I'm quick-witted. I can respond quickly. I'm, very opposite of my husband who needs time to process things and I'll get back to you. No, I can immediately give you an answer to fix something, to, a solution. And so sometimes if people don't listen or disagree with what I'm saying, even if I know it to be true because of my experience, like I would just lose it. Like whatever, da da da. Like my attitude was horrible. And even though I was knowledgeable, who would want to work with someone who had such a poor attitude, right?
Hmm.
So what I had to learn about myself is how to communicate. And I know that that sounds so basic, but a lot of us don't know how to talk to people.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of us don't know how to talk to people, or we only know how to talk one way. And I used to say that
Right.
about myself. If you talk to me, I'm going to give it to you straight. So if you can't handle that, then don't talk to me. Like, and that's wrong.
Right.
That is absolutely wrong. So what I had to learn is a part of communicating is learning your audience and who you're communicating with. And as a leader, how do they receive communication from you? How do they need to receive communication for them? If you are always the one who wants to text and email, but that person prefers that in-person phone or phone conversation because they need to articulate or ask questions, but you're always emailing and texting, you're missing that person.
Mm.
So I had to learn from myself. I can't just communicate the way that's comfortable for LaShawn. I can't just,
Right.
blurt out stuff and expect people to catch it or leave it. Like, if this life is really not about me, I need to make sure that I'm able to communicate with anybody who encounters me or who God sends my way. And that's what I
Yeah.
had to learn how to do.
Yeah, I think that even connects to the point that you said of just that's about caring about people, because when you care about people enough, you're willing to understand. And I appreciate you being vulnerable, because I think we all have those things that we can say, yeah, I did not do too good in that part, in that season, or and I think communication is a big one, especially as leaders. We may be communicating, but we may not be communicating effectively or in a healthy way. And this is huge, huge
And
as
you
leaders,
lose
huge as
people.
leaders.
You lose
Yeah,
people. And
yeah,
I had to learn too, as far as communicating, not everything requires a response.
hmm,
So are you talking too much because you're responding to things that really you didn't even need to address or
right.
engage with?
Yeah, I love
That was
that.
my piece.
Hey,
Yeah.
one of the things I like to talk about with leaders, LaShawn, is kind of who was a model along the journey, who was an example, because we all have people that at some point, even in different seasons of our lives, maybe really stood out as maybe a model or an example to follow, maybe a kind of a voice of a mentor, or like a mother or a father spiritually. Who in you, as you look back on your journey, who is maybe one or two important voices that inspired you or helped you along your journey?
Well, first I can easily say is my husband, because he used to tell me, you're talking to me like I'm one of your HR people, or like I'm in trouble, or like, you know what I mean. So I had to. That was a part of my communication journey, was really through how I used to speak with him, how I used to talk to him, and it wasn't well received. So I can easily say that he's been a real reason and driver behind me having this self-awareness about myself, but more publicly, a person that I see as my unofficial mentor. It happens to be Caroline Wanga, who's the CEO of Essence, the magazine Essence Communications and things like that, because she, if you've ever heard her speak, or if you've ever seen anything that she does, she's just so brutally honest and so brutally transparent. And that I admire so much, because there are so many people, especially with social media, that share what they want you to see.
Right.
She shares what it is. And that's how I learned about being authentic, and authenticity is really by watching her. And even if you Google her or look at her, you will see even her appearance is always prominent, and she operates in such poise and excellence. And so that's who I look at, so that I can ensure that I'm always being authentically myself.
I like that. I think it's important to have those people that help drive and push us forward. LaShawn, I personally am excited to tap into your book. I think there's some wisdom that God has put on your heart to share with all of us. The book is At the Pinnacle of Greatness, Fulfilling the Design of Your God-Given DNA. I think it's exciting to be able to get this in people's hands. How can people get the book? How can they connect with you and find more resources or teachings from you?
Absolutely. So on social media, my handle is at the HR Plug everywhere. So if you just look at the HR Plug, you'll find me. My website, my personal website, where you can see everything I'm doing and what I'm working on, is LaShawnDavis.me. And that's just my spelling, .me, like me. And so you can always see and see what I have going on, and connect with me on there as well. And I'd love to connect with each and every one of you and answer any questions that you might have about the book or even this conversation.
You heard it, everybody. The website is LaShawnDavis.me, LASHAWN Davis.me. Also on social media at the HR Plug, the HR Plug. I want to mention, LaShawn, for all of our listeners and viewers, if you have not subscribed to AVAIL yet, for the videos viewers, I'm holding it in my hand, this AVAIL Journal. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best Christian leadership magazines out there. I mean, leadership in general, but with a faith perspective along the journey. And LaShawn actually has had an article in one of our AVAIL editions. LaShawn, you want to share about that?
Yes. So, Designed by the Decade is an article in the latest edition of AVAIL, and really it talks about more of creating your vision for your life, creating a vision plan. And it's supposed to be done by the decade, not by the year. And a lot of us focus on the year. And so this article will talk about, why is it done by the decade? How do I do it? And what does that even look like? How to do my vision board? What should be on it? How, all of those types of things. Because what you find is every year, if you change your goals or your visions that you have for your life, that's not how God works. He doesn't work on a timetable, but yet we're trying to fit him into a timetable by saying, I want to accomplish this in a year. When you look at it through the lens of a decade, and you give yourself grace and you give yourself time to truly ensure that you're connected and doing the right thing and your steps are ordered, you'll find more results. So this is what that article about, and we dive deeper into it in the book. But do your vision correctly. Have that visualization done right, so that you can actually attain what you envision for yourself.
Very good, very good. Everybody, if you haven't done so, you can subscribe for a free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal, which I know once you do it, you're going to want to get latched on and get it. Every quarter, a new edition comes out with amazing contributors like LaShawn and so many others, some that are very, very well known and out there in the leadership world and Christian leadership world, some who are newer and up and rising. And we want to encourage you to get this in your hands. AVAILJournal.com to get the free trial subscription. LaShawn, I think it's awesome that you're contributing in so many ways, and you're helping to equip and encourage people. And I think that's probably why so many doors are opening for you and your journey, and we're excited about that. What's a final thought you want to leave us with as we kind of wrap up the conversation?
I would say, when people hear the title of my book, or they know that I'm all about greatness, I hear people often say, yeah, greatness is within you. And or the journey to greatness or things like that. And my final thought for you is this: greatness is not something that's within you, because to suggest that it's within you means that you can be without it. I need you to understand that greatness is who you are because you come from the greatest. And God breathed breath into us. His DNA flows through you. We were created in his image and in his likeness. So you are greatness. It's not something you have to strive for. It's not something that you have to work towards. It is you. It is your identity. And what fuels and sparks that greatness is the power that is in you. Exceedingly abundantly above all that I could ever ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. That's that greatness. You have to exercise your power to truly live at the pinnacle of greatness. That power, that of the Spirit of God that's in you. And so that's what I want you to remember. This isn't something that you got to work on finding. It is already here. You just got to tap into it and find out how to truly live as the greatness that you are.
Love it, love it, love it. Drop the mic. Hashtag LaShawn Davis is on fire. LaShawn, on behalf of our AVAIL team, our co-founders, Dr. Sam Chand, Martijn van Tilburg, the whole AVAIL team, everybody who's behind the scenes here at AVAIL, we just want to say thank you for being part of the contributors. Thank you for being an amazing leader with an amazing heart to make a difference in this world. We are proud of you. We honor you. We bless you and your family, and we can't wait to see all that God has in store for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. And same with your podcast and your ministry. I wish you peace and blessings.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with LaShawn Davis. Again, to get her book at the Pinnacle of Greatness, you can go to LaShawnDavis.me. Find out everything about her. You can follow her on social media, handle at @TheHRPlug, where you can connect with her, follow her, keep learning from her. And it is an honor to have you here on behalf of AVAIL. My name is Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church in South Florida, your host on the AVAIL podcast, where we talk about this art we call leadership. Remember, every Tuesday, a new episode pops fresh for you and for your team to grow in leadership. We love you, and we'll catch you next time here on the AVAIL podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the AVAIL podcast with our guest, LaShawn Davis. You can find out more about LaShawn on social media under the handle @TheHRPlug and by going to LaShawnDavis.me. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. And make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at AVAILJournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.